On to match 2. We won match 1 against Lands fairly easily with a nice straightforward 2-0. We're going to keep this 7, I think. We're on the draw and we've got double probe. So we'll almost definitely probe turn 1. Try to find a cantrip. I think if we draw a Dark Ritual or an Infernal Tutor, we're going to probe again. Okay, so we're playing against Grixis Delver. And we need to find a Force of Will now. Sorry, we don't need to find a Force of Will. We need to beat a Force of Will now. So our opponent is going to play out the Pyromancer there. And then they're going to probe us once or twice so that they can start getting a reasonable clock. So apparently they're pretty interested in our hand at the moment, and probably very much wishing they had a Cabal Therapy. I think they're also deciding whether or not to cycle the probe. It's probably necessary for them. I think they need as much interaction as possible from here. Especially as I think if we wait a moment here, maybe they do have a therapy. No, another Deathrite Shaman, okay. So I think given their life total here, our goal is actually just to natural tendrils them, which we may be able to do off something like, well, Dark Ritual Duress should do it, and we can definitely do it now. We're just going to cycle a tutor here, and we should just cycle a tutor here. That should have probably been an Underground Sea there, as we're going to want the extra black if we draw a discard spell. So you can already see that I'm not playing this league very well. While the Underground Sea is soft to a Wasteland, and it's reasonably possible that they're going to be able to draw it, I don't think that's what we care about. Even if they Wasteland us, we're still going to have a second land off the vault that's in our hand. So at the moment we're on 15, they've got 6 damage on board, 10 damage on board, so this is our very last turn. So I think we really want to draw a Brainstorm, have them force it. Now that would have been a good argument to play the Dark Ritual first. I don't know if it matters. It's a Force of Will that would have got us. So we're going to side into our normal sideboard plan here, which is bring in one Cabal Therapy and one Empty the Warrens, cutting one Ad Nauseam and one Preordain. We bring in the Cabal Therapy so that we can kind of, I guess, hit critical mass a little bit earlier. What we really want to be doing is finding just a way to get through their interaction as early as possible. The best way to do that is to realistically have a higher discard count. And we're cutting Ad Nauseam as it's far too life total sensitive and they can present a very fast clock. We're keeping both Past in Flames notably. I know this is for anybody who pays much attention to what a lot of other Storm streamers or Storm players do. Keeping the second Past in Flames looks a bit odd. I like the second Past in Flames in this matchup as it makes Deathrite Shaman, if you can cast Past in Flames from hand, it makes Deathrite Shaman look pretty poor. We're also keeping the Petition, which I know a lot of people say is a bit soft in the Delver matchup. I think it's fine. I just like having extra business. And a lot of the time, if you were going to lose to a Daze on your tutor, then you were going to Daze or a spell piece on your tutor, you were going to lose anyway. Notably, the best thing about this configuration is it means that we're not really tampering with our deck at all, so we get to maintain a really focused, streamlined approach. We're going to keep this hand. It's a one-lander, so I would have preferred to have a fetch, but the Ponder should help with that a lot. I kind of feel like we have to keep this. We don't really want all the extra tutors. So we're going to have to hope a lot that we can, I guess, brainstorm everything away. There's the Wasteland. We don't really care about that. In fact, I think we'd rather, in that particular situation, given we've already found our second land, I think we'd rather they led on a Wasteland than a Delver. Just pause on upkeep here means our opponent's about to cast a Surgical. Surgical on Underground Sea would be disastrous. Surgical on Ponder's not a problem. It's actually shuffling away the crap that we didn't want. I think that's a pretty poor use for a Surgical in general. You don't know anything about a hand. You're not taking anything that's game plan critical. Yeah, we do like having our Ponders and we do like cantripping heavily, but at the end of the day, if we've pondered and not shuffled, we're probably drawing something reasonable. And I think I like cycling the probe here. Now we've got a second. And we see a pretty mediocre hand. And I think it's correct to duress here. The reason being, I think we might want to take... Okay, so there's a reason to take Ponder and Force of Will. I almost think we should have taken the ponder there so that we could probe check to see what they drew naturally off the top. They do have a fairly high density of blue cards, so it's not particularly unlikely that they'll draw force. Okay, and did they forget to play out a land? They forgot to play out a land last turn, so we're looking pretty good here. I think, yeah. So we can actually just kill them with Past in Flames here, I think. I think if we put back Duress and a fetch. And we're going to have Threshold after we cast Dark Ritual. And so we're going to have 10 mana, including the Lotus Petal. So each of the Cabal Rituals are going to add 3. 10 mana after Lotus Petal, and then that's just going to give us a nice, neat Past in Flames. And our opponent's going to scoop there. We're just going to run the same list back. So I know it's not always correct to duress before your combo turn. And I know a lot of people will hold for that. I personally tend to think in that particular situation where what our plan is, we're going to mulligan this hand, by the way. It would be great, but we're missing land, so it's shit. When you're a bit pinched on mana, so we had access to 2 lands and we knew we wanted to brainstorm next turn, then that's the situation where I think we really need to be running out the duress with the plan of finding what we need the following turn. So we've scryed Dark Petition to the top. I think we're going to probe here in case we want a therapy. And we know they've got the Wasteland and not much else. I think I kind of like running out the Underground Sea here, as it pushes them into Wastelanding. As having said that, with the hand we've got, I think if we can draw another Dark Ritual, then we can go for it pretty easily. Okay, so now our Pyromancer's down. We're on a pretty short clock. I think it's correct, most likely to... I think I'm a bit torn here. So there's an argument to be made for casting Therapy on the Red Blast. So I think here we really need to cast Force of Will, to Therapy Force of Will. So we should have therapied Force of Will there, because we can, next turn, cast Dark Petition, grab a Ritual or an LED. I think it's probably a Ritual. So Dark Petition for 5 mana. Let's just take a look here. So if we therapied for Force of Will, we would hopefully have left them reasonably bare of interaction. With 5 cards in graveyard. So Dark Ritual and a Dark Petition gives us 7 cards in graveyard. And 3 black floating. Grab a Cabal Ritual, go up to 6, and then we can Past in Flames, leaving 3 floating. So I definitely think we should have jammed the therapy there, as we should have had a dodging other interaction. We would have had a deterministic kill the next turn. As it stands now, so this is a bash for 6, and they're going to have 5, 8 next turn. So we actually need to win exactly this turn. Okay, and they have Spell Pierce. So having a look here, can we cast Dark Ritual, Past in Flames? What can we probe into? So I don't think we can probe into anything. So that means this coming turn, we need to dodge Lightning Bolt, and we need to top deck exactly a Ritual. And unfortunately, I think we have to scoop there because we can't fetch twice. So I think we didn't play that super well. We should have been a lot more aggressive with that Cabal therapy. And that's going to cost us the game.